Hello learners, I welcome you all to the 56th lecture for the course on International Investment Law and the Environment. So what are we looking at in the 56th lecture? We are looking at mediation as a method for dispute resolution for investment disputes in ISDS. So how are we talking about mediation as a possible resolution method? Because if you see, ICSID convention also provides for arbitration as well as conciliation, but conciliation is seldom used for dispute resolution. So then why would there be an interest in mediating investment disputes? But the growing trend says otherwise. There is an increased interest in mediation as a method for resolving disputes, especially at the international level. How is this made possible? With the emergence of international legal framework for mediation, particularly the Singapore Convention on Mediation, there is a renewed focus on mediating the dispute, especially at the international level. So we know that ISDS has many criticisms. I mean, that is evident. There's so many reforms that are currently being discussed about in the context of UNCITRAL Working Group 3. If you read the reform elements, and the very first page of all the documents talk about why they are looking at the reform elements, that lays down the criticism. So that with multitude of criticisms on ISDS reforms are going on, why can't we look at mediation as a dispute resolution method in ISDS? So that's going to be the focus of this particular lecture. So this lecture is divided into 5 segments. In the first segment, I'll give a general introduction. Then in the second segment, we could look at, can mediation happen during the cooling off period, right? So that is something we'll discuss in the second segment. In the third segment, we can discuss about, there are certain BITs that provide for mediation in the treaty itself. So we could take a look at those. Then in the fourth segment, we can look at ICSID and the possibility of mediating investment disputes within the ICSID mechanism. Then in the final segment, we can look at UNCITRAL's contribution for mediating investment disputes. So this is how this particular lecture is structured. So without any further delay, let us jump into the first segment, that is the general introduction to mediation as a dispute resolution method in ISDS. As I've just mentioned in the beginning of this video, how mediation could be explored with the emerging international legal framework for mediation, and somehow Singapore Convention on Mediation has strengthened this legal framework. With that, we also see a growing trend. So why do I keep saying there's a growing trend in mediating investment dispute? Look at the sheer amount of procedural rules on mediation that have come up in the recent years. IBA, the International Bar Association, through a resolution, IBA Council through a resolution dated 4th October 2012 has adopted IBA rules on investor-state mediation, and we could also see the ECT guide on investment mediation that had come up in mid-2010s as well. Then we could also see UNCITRAL came up with mediation rules in 2021. That is for international commercial mediation. Then subsequently it came up with guidelines on mediation in international investment disputes very recently in 2024, right? So that is also there. So we also see VAC rules on international arbitration and mediation. Then we also see ICSID had come up with mediation rules in 2022 that complements its existing structure for resolving disputes through arbitration, conciliation and fact-finding, etc. So now the multitude of procedural rules are coming up for mediating investment disputes. From there, I can safely say that there is a growing trend or growing significance for mediating investment disputes, and that is what we are going to discuss in detail in the subsequent segments of this particular lecture. So I think this forms a sufficient introduction for what we are going to discuss in detail. So in the next segment, let us look at how mediation can be used as a tool even in cooling off period. I mean, when we are talking about mediation in ISDS, we are not just talking about mediation replacing arbitration, we can also talk about mediation supplementing arbitration. So in that context, when there's a cooling off period that most bilateral investment treaties provide, the amount of the quantum of time may differ, ranging from 3 months to 18 months, but most BITs do provide for a cooling off period. Why can't mediation be explored during the cooling off period? So stay tuned to discuss this in much more detail in the second segment. Thank you.